So your mitochondria is generating ATP. So a couple things we can do is get the carbohydrates dialed in. Too much carbs, too much processed sugar, it's going to cause your body, it's going to burn. It's a dirty fuel. It's going to burn dirty, just like diesel kind of gives an odor when it's burnt off, right? Doesn't burn as clean versus like a high octane type of race fuel is going to burn a lot cleaner. So we want to make sure we get really good fuel in the system so we're not creating lots of dirtiness and lots of oxidation. So when we have lots of extra carbohydrate, especially if we're not burning that carbohydrate right away because we're insulin resistant, that's possible. If we're insulin resistant, our insulin levels are high, your blood sugar is typically spiking after a meal, it's typically a sign that you are not going to be burning fat optimally. And especially if you're overweight, you're probably eating a bunch of stuff. You're not going to be active right afterwards. So you have this blood sugar spike up and down, and that creates surges of insulin and it causes crashing at some point. And then you have surges of adrenaline and cortisol where you get moody and where you get irritable. So it's really important to look at everything holistically and say, hey, you got to stabilize your glucose so you're not surging insulin and you're not surging adrenaline and surging cortisol. Very important. Plus, if you are surging insulin, it can throw off your hormones. For guys, it's going to increase estrogen. For women, it can increase testosterone. That's going to be a problem. So really important there. Also, the oxidative stress that comes as a result of excess glucose is important. Next, good proteins and fats. That's important because number one, it prevents you from overeating. Good proteins and fats are going to provide satiation signals to the brain, prevent you from overeating. Too much calories is going to cause more mitochondrial issues. Now, I say don't count the calories, just eat food that is going to be satiating for you in the right amounts so you feel satiated, so you feel full. Everyone can think back to college days or have an experience with a binge of chips or cookies or processed foods. Guess what? They don't really make you that full. So then you come back feeling a lot more cravings and you eat a lot more, right? Everyone has that experience of eating a whole pizza to their face, or, the whole Pringles commercials of the 90s of once you pop, right? You can't stop, right? That's like a 30-year-old commercial in my head and I still remember it. And so really important that we have to have those kind of things dialed in. Third thing is nutrients. What nutrients can we dial in? I would say B vitamins are going to be key, right? Especially the riboflavin, B2 and B3, niacin. These are going to be the NADH and the FADH kind of derivatives, right? Nicotinamide, adenosine, dinucleotide, that's NAD. And then the flavonoid, adenatide, dinucleotide. These are going to be your reducing agents. They gather up electrons, hydrogens in particular, as they run around the Krebs cycle. About 2 NADHs gets pumped out per 1 FADH2, and that runs 2 times. So I'm pretty sure it's 4 NADHs and 2 FADH2s. And that's going to then shuttle those hydrogens, electrons into the electron transport chain and generate 30 plus more ATP. So very important because the mitochondria, it generates ATP. It's really important. It's also what's called the carnitine shuttle. Carnitine is an important nutrient too because it takes those fatty acids, dumps it into the mitochondria, where the body can then generate ATP from that as well. That's beta fatty acid oxidation. So that's really important that we have good carnitine. And carnitine comes from methionine and lysine. It's in my Lippincott biochemistry textbook. It literally says in there that carnitine is a rate-limiting nutrient that many vegetarians cannot make because the amino acids that are needed typically are not there in vegetarian foods. So this is really important. If you're vegetarian, vegan, it's going to be harder for you to have the carnitine, which then is really important for utilizing that fatty acids for fuel in your mitochondria. Very important.